Hey guys, welcome back to the DM and Friends. I am DM Angelo, and this is the Weird Gear Chronicles. We will continue with the Weird Gear Chronicles. Last week we talked about Wolfsbane. That was rooted in Greek mythology, priced at 10 silver pieces, and it was one of the most expensive herbs on the AD&D equipment list, and one of the most important monster deterrent tools the party can carry. Well, at the end of the episode, I teased about its partner, the other herb, I'm calling it, and the one that actually shows up in, first in Gary Gygax's Lycanthropy rules. This is Belladonna, and this one is a lot cheaper, more dangerous, and honestly has a kind of wilder real world history than Wolfsbane does. So Belladonna, Deadly Nightshade, the Beautiful Lady. We are talking about witches, flying ornaments, Renaissance cosmetics, Shakespeare, Roman assassinations, and the most critical 1 hour window in all of old school AD&D. Let's get into it. So let's start in the real world, because the history of the plant is pretty extraordinary. Its scientific name is, and I'm going to mispronounce this like I always do, but it's Atropa Belladonna. And, both words are telling you something. Atropa comes from Atropos, one of the three fates in Greek mythology. Clotha spun the thread of life. Lachesis, I think that's how you pronounce it. I know it's Lachessis, I think, yeah. She measured it, and Atropos, whose name means she cannot be the turned, right? She cannot be turned. Cut it, right? So Atropos ends lives, right? And that name was given to the plant's entire genius. Right there is a scientific name, inevitable death, right? Belladonna means beautiful woman in Italian. I'm Italian. And that name comes from the Renaissance, when noble women dropped diluted juices from the plant's berries directly into their eyes. The active compound atropine is the active compound, causes your eyes to dilate wide and dark. And at the time, large dilated pupils were considered alluring, kind of freaky, but women were literally poisoning their own eyes for cosmetics. Well, I think they're still doing that, but anyways, and that's how the plant got its name. Every part of Belladonna is poisonous, 100%, and that's why I don't have a prop. I usually have a prop, right? Leaves, roots, berries, flowers. The active compounds are tropane alkaloids, and other things that I can't pronounce, but they cause rapid heart rates, blurred vision, delirium, hallucinations, convulsions, and in sufficient doses, death. The Romans called it shadow of light, shadow of night, and it may have been the weapon behind more than one imperial assassination. Medieval armies contaminated enemy food supplies with it. Shakespeare almost certainly had it in mind when writing the scene in Romeo and Juliet, right? When Juliet takes a potion that mimics death. The symptoms he described matched Belladonna poisoning almost exactly. I don't know if he actually said what it was exactly, but correct me if I'm wrong, you guys. But then there is a witchcraft connection too, right? And this one ties directly into why it shows up in fantasy role playing. Why Gary put it in there, right? In medieval Europe, Belladonna was one of the primary ingredients in what was called the flying ointments. salves that which rubbed on their bodies before Sabbaths, right? The hallucinogenic compound absorbed through the skin induced powerful visions of flight and shape-shifting. So, people who used it generally experienced what felt, like transformation into something else. Those of you guys that ever tripped before, you know what I'm talking about. Not that I ever have. Belladonna, shape-shifting, transformation. Gary Gygax knew exactly what he was doing when he made this a primary emergency treatment for lycanthropy, right? Let's talk price, right? So here in the player's handbook, I have one of them. I have my trusty player's handbook right here, my destroyed copy that's waterlogged and written in and ripped. Under the herbs section on, let me find it. Under the herbs section on page, on the bottom of page 35 of the player's handbook, a belladonna sprig of it is 4 silver pieces. And that's right here. Yes, I'm going to fold my book right here on the bottom. Remember last week that Wolfbane was 10 silver pieces, which is equivalent to half a gold. It's an electrum piece. Belladonna is less than half that, right? Garlic is 5 copper. Garlic you can get anywhere in a town, right? Very, very cheap. So you've got a full spectrum of that one, of the little herb section. You have garlic at the bottom. You have it's common and cheap, right? And then you have belladonna in the middle, and then wolfsbane at the top, the premium item, right? So 4 silver pieces is accessible to new players, right? The first level party can realistically buy, 2 or 3 sprigs before a dungeon crawl without breaking the bank, obviously, right? And given that belladonna does, given what it does, given the scenario where you desperately need it, buying a couple sprigs before heading into werewolf territory isn't just smart. It could be a decision that saves the campaign. Let's go to the Dungeon Master Guide, talking about mechanics, right? Because the lycanthropy rules are where belladonna earns its place in the equipment list, right? Here's the rule: if a human character is bitten by a lycanthrope, right? By a werewolf, a werebear, were whatever, right? And that bite accounts for 50% or more of their natural hit points, right? They have 100% chance of contracting lycanthropy, right? No saving throw, it just happens, right? And then Gary Gygax gives you this in the DMG. He says, if the player eats any belladonna within an hour after being bitten, there's a 25% chance that the disease will not manifest itself, right? So 1 hour, you have a 25% chance of success. And those are not just great odds, but it is the only eminent, kind of option available, unless you have the cleric has a cure disease or something like that. You need a 12th level, I think a 12th level cleric to cast cure disease, right? I could be wrong there. I have to look, actually. Now I'm curious. I think it's 12th level. Yeah, because it's cure diseases, unless you have a paladin, right? But, the interesting thing about that, if I was a DM and they ate some belladonna, what would you do? I mean, that's a chance of poisoning, right? So it'd also be a save versus poison, or something along those lines, right? Or next thing you know, for the next 4 hours, they're hallucinating, right? All those things we talked about in the beginning here. So, yeah, very interesting. So, and he put that in the DMG specifically as a curative to lycanthropy. So that's why we carried it. That's really why we carried it with us, because there's a lot of werewolves there, in the countryside. So, and in the dungeon sometimes. So, I want to talk about a couple practical uses, and these are things that I've seen done in the past as a player or running games, right? So, and I just talked about one of them. So the emergency eats, you only have that first 1 hour window. I've seen players do that. So, and I've played it once where the DM actually gave, roll the percent, as a DM, you roll it, roll it behind the scenes so they don't know. So they still think in their mind they might become a werewolf, right? But also, there's that chance of poisoning. So I've seen that before in games. Maybe, and here's another one, maybe a secure ingredient, right? So the monastery, maybe, I've seen this, the monastery cure requires wolfsbanes and belladonna, right? So, you buy it before you go in, and if your party is heading to a known territory, carry enough belladonna to cover both the emergency one window and then also going, it's an ingredient for curing too, right? So have it with you when you go to that temple to get cured, right? So there's no excuses to not have multiple copies of sprigs with you. So the intimidation. So I've seen this used as intimidation. Lycanthropes are known, they know what belladonna is, right? So a desperate party cornered by a werewolf, maybe, with no silver weapons, no spells left, pull out belladonna to make it known to have it, right? Maybe that will, and combine it with some wolfsbane, maybe you create a deterrent. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but you can always try it as a player. So I would, if players pulled out, pulled out some belladonna and put it in front of the werewolf, I would probably have that werewolf pause, maybe be a less initiative or something like that. It's kind of an inventive way of changing combat. So you could use it that way. Another one is in a campaign with a skilled alchemist, right, or herbalist. NPC belladonna, has a trade item and crafting ingredient, right? Carry a supply into the dungeon, and maybe they can use it as a trade, and to offset expenses or something like that. An alchemist might need it, so hanging on to it because it could be a trade item. As part of this, I do, and I want to thank you guys that commented on my post. I'm gonna read some of the posts here, and some of them might be a repeat too, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Sean Kennedy made a great post, and he said, this highly poisonous plant is helpful in very small doses and can be used to calm people, causing dilated pupils and relaxing nausea and motion sickness. Okay, that's good. In high doses, it can cause rapid heart rate, hallucination, dry mouth, delirium, even death. Okay, we covered that. Circa used belladonna in her transformation potion, so this could be a quest item. Awesome, I like that. Witches are said to use in flying ointments. So thank you, Sean Kennedy, for that. SW33N3 said, had a rogue player with a psych, who was a psych ward nurse, put it in horse feed. DM determined steeds were hallucinating and refused any commands and ran rampant from the stables through the castle courtyard. I don't know if this actually affects horses, but it made for a great distraction in stealing the treasury. So thank you guys for those comments. Yeah, belladonna could, obviously another use, like it was just kind of said a couple times here, is it could be, assassin could use it as a poison. Maybe an alchemist knows how to make poison. That's an ingredient. So, and I would, as a DM, maybe players go through a field that has a bunch of not a field, but an area that has belladonna in it, and they get exposed to it. So, poisons, cures for lycanthropy, stuff like that. I think it's a great opportunity for role playing, guys. So Now, the catch with Belladonna is obviously, like I've talked about some of the other herbs, it's a single purpose. It's a single purpose item. You know, carry it for one very specific scenario. If the dungeon puts you near a lycanthrope, you're going to want to have it, right? If you don't, you're screwed, right? But unlike the iron spikes and 10-foot poles, the consequences for not having it when you need it isn't that the trap doesn't go untriggered, right? The consequence is that your fighter becomes a werewolf, right? So always bring it, you know. Now, the other downside too is it's fragile. You know, as a DM, does it still work if it gets wet? Obviously, it gets burnt. It's not going to work. The other thing too is exposure. So you got to be careful when you're holding on to it. So you know, it could absorb through the skin. You know, maybe not as you know, high doses and stuff like that. But so got to be careful with that. So Belladonna is everything I love about the Weird Gear Chronicles. It's cheap enough that there is no excuse not to carry it. You know, low-level parties or any party, carry it with you. You know, it's rooted in centuries of real-world history. You know, Roman poisons, you know, Renaissance stuff, Greek mythology. You know, its mechanics there's real mechanics in AD&D for it. You know, and create some, you know, it could create some very dramatic, you know, moments. You know, think of quickly eat it. You know, he was bit and he eats it, and the DM rolls that 25% in back of his DM screen, and then he tells the player, now roll a save versus poison because you just ate a whole sprig of, and you know, you're starting to either feel weird or maybe you're gonna have a heart attack over it. So good stuff, very, very good, but good role-playing opportunities with this. So next week I'm gonna be completing the herb trio for the Weird Gear Chronicles, and we're gonna be talking about garlic. And garlic, I mean, I hope a lot of us have used it in D&D. Garlic, and I've seen it used so many times for various reasons that we will talk about. So garlic's one of those other very important herbs that was listed in the player's handbook here. And we're going to talk about it next week. All right, you guys, that was Belladonna. If you have a story about lycanthropy and wrecking your party because you didn't have it, or someone heroically eating poison plant to save their character, you know, put it in the comments, guys. I want to hear all about it. This has always been, the Weird Gear Chronicles has been so much fun. All the back and forth on this has been so much fun. And you guys, hit the like button on this video, subscribe to it, share it with your friends. If you're watching on mobile, hit hype, please. The most important is comment. Comments are the best way to show your support on videos, guys. So, thank you again. I am DM Angelo. This is the DM and Friends. I love Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And I love you guys. All right. Bye-bye.